Hello, good morning, good afternoon for those of you that may be on the East Coast as well. Welcome to another Mosaic Minute, an opportunity for us to highlight another amazing female leader in this industry. So I want to say welcome, Corina. I'm so excited for you to be here today, for you to be able to share more about your leadership journey and share more about even how you got to Mercer. So welcome today. I know our viewers are very excited to hear your story today.
Thank you so much, Kristen, and thank you so much for having me. As I was sharing you just a few minutes ago, I love that you have culture warriors. So thank you for being such a great representation on behalf of all of us.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, that's one of those titles that when I started in HR, it was at Mosaic, it attached, and then I've just carried it with me along the way. It is probably one of the most proud titles outside of mom, right? That I still have to this day. So I appreciate that very much. Love it. Well, in true sense, right? We're honoring more about how we got here, what brought us here. So if you would just share a little bit with our viewers around what your current role is at Mercer. I know you have a global focus. You have a focus on vendors, but tell us a little bit more about that, about how you came to Mercer and just where you're currently at.
Yes, thank you so much, Kristen. So first of all, really excited to be here. I currently am at Mercer leading all of global partnerships and analyst function. So what that means is partnerships across all of HR technology companies, with system integrators, with the technology companies themselves, like everything from just across the board, as well as the analyst function. So we do have deep research and insights and content that we create for our clients. So if our clients are looking for guidance on the top 2 to 3 vendors, what should they be looking at? What does AI even mean? Which I'm sure you've been hearing quite a lot. We help decipher all of that. And it's actually been a really fun journey. I was reflecting on this quite a bit, especially since things are happening so quickly around the world today. And I remember in day one, years and years ago, before I had children, when I first started working, I was in pre-sales, demoing, everything from finance to supply chain to HR technologies. And then fast forward, I really honed in on my skills around strategy and execution, where I worked directly for a CEO of over 100,000 employees. I led the strategy for our global partner organization of over 13,000 different companies that we've worked with. And then I've also been the head of HR advisories and head of system integrators. So I feel like my journey so far, going back to your question, has really been a combination of everything that I've done before, but the best part of it is it's actually my favorite parts of what I've been doing, the strategy, the execution. And then right before I came to Mercer, I did a bit of startup. So it's really a blended role of all of my favorite things.
Wow. So I'm hearing startups all the way to these global massive organizations. What an incredible impact and chance to influence the way that HR is shaping. So that is amazing. What do you enjoy most about working with global teams?
Ooh, my favorite is definitely working with different cultures. And what I mean by that is people who come from different backgrounds, they're diverse thinking, being open. What's really fascinating is you could actually have the same problem, have a group of people addressing the same problem, but the outcome, how you solve that problem, is quite different. So that is my favorite part, because often at times I think, and I often ask myself as well, like, is this the best answer? Is this the best way to approach it? So that is my absolute favorite part. And it's a lot of fun. You get to try different foods and meet new people while you're at it.
Okay, speaking of, I have an opportunity. I leave on actually Saturday to go to Australia for the UKG Live conference that is there in Australia.
Yes.
And we have a team that is there. We have APAC presence, and I get to go meet our head of sales and our head of operations that are physically there in Australia, and get to work a booth with them, which is you never stop, right? Having a chance to spread the word about what your organization can do. I am so excited to experience another culture. I've been to New Zealand. I have not been to Australia, but I am so excited just to experience, as you say, like the foods and just the different pace at which, I'm so excited to experience it. So I love that
I'm so excited for you. And just a quick story. I actually did my baby moon there. It was a combination between a work trip. So I went to Sydney, plus I was 7 months pregnant. Not the greatest duration of time to be carrying a belly and flying,
that long.
15, however many hours at this point. But I just had such fond memories, and my husband came with me, so it was so much fun. But I take lots of pictures.
I will definitely do that. I get to stop in Sydney and then I'll be in Melbourne. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, totally side note there. You got me excited. I'm like, oh, right. After this, I'm going to need some tips for Sydney for sure. I love it. Okay, so global teams, loving the aspect of learning new cultures, different diversity thoughts, bringing them together. In my experience, that's where I've really seen organizations be able to grow into a faster pace, right? Because they do have different thought processes solving a solution that may be a different way to look at a different perspective that helps you get to that next business inflection point. So I could see how exciting that would be, especially when you start to add in AI. That is an ongoing topic that we hear from our clients every single day. What are you doing to embrace AI? How do you view it? Do you have policies on it? So I know Mercer's at the forefront to be able to help answer those questions, which is a great partnership for us as well. So thank you. Which is not a question, it's more of a statement. So I appreciate that. So getting back to being a leader, tell me more about a lesson that you've learned that has helped you in your career. This is the part where I'd love for leaders, regardless of gender, right, to be able to identify and understand that where they're at, if it's at a hard point, other people have been there and you have, showed determination, you've been able to get over it. So expressing those, lessons learned can help somebody that may be in that same stuck moment as well. So anything you can share that is a lesson learned from your leadership path.
Yes, absolutely. And Catherine, I think one of the Kristen, sorry,
No
one of the key things that that really stick to my mind is stay true to your roots. I think it's a really key aspect and foundation that really underlies the journey for an individual. So no matter where they are within the journey, where they're growing, where they're excelling, I often say it really keeps the person stay grounded. I grew up in a lower middle class from Staten Island, New York. And in that journey, I've had the privilege of being in all different types of situations and working with all different types of leaders. And in particular roles, I've also had the opportunity to work with a ton of celebrities. But, in that journey, I often think as we continue to kind of explore that for an individual, staying true to the upbringing, how you got to where you were and the journey that it took, all of that hard work really help stay grounded no matter what situation you're in.
Love that. I know that can ring true for many people, and such a great lesson learned. Hard to remember sometimes in those moments where you need to reflect and say, okay, what do I want to do, right? Not just what does this person or the situation kind of call for, but make sure that you stay grounded in who you are. I love that aspect. So thank you for sharing. Another aspect here, another question I have is what advice? I love asking this question. I've heard some of the most profound or very tactical answers, all of them very true. So what advice would you give to another woman who's trying to grow in their leadership role?
Yes. So I would think absolutely love what you do and be really good at it. I have often found, people come to me for advice and they really want to get promoted or they want to grow the size of their team. But I often think that people are not coming at it with the right reasons. They don't really understand the why of why they even want a large team or why they want to get promoted. Certainly the salary increases are helpful, but if you don't love what you do and you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it can be taxing to the body mentally and physically, because at some point, even though in the short term it might be great that you get that promotion and you get the team, but if you don't really love what you do, then it's really going to be hard to sustain in the long run. So I often find, try to find what you want to do, what you love to do, your passion, what you wake up excited about. And, people often ask me, how do you figure that out? There are some individuals that really, are still trying to find that. And that's okay, right? At a different point in time, or maybe you have a reset, right? Journey doesn't have to go completely linear. It can go up and down, all over the place, maybe a little bit backwards and then forward again. But I always say, stick back to, like, what did you really love as a child when you were a little kid? And what were those things that you got really excited about? And that, I think, even as an adult, stays true. Like, I loved Legos and Connects as a kid. I loved building things. I liked blending pieces, different colors, different textures, and I put them together to see what it can form. And that still is what I'm doing today. I'm building partnerships, and I'm building something that's creating a bigger picture into things that can help people.
That is so beautiful. I actually got chills just hearing that. I love hearing the child version of you versus like today, what it grew and how it actually is. It's like so intertwined. I love that. One of the questions I love to ask, and this is more on the leadership development side, when I'm working with people, and you hit on something so profound. It's not just about the title. It's not about the pay, right? Those are all, things that kind of come with it. It has to be, why do you want to do this? Because the work of leadership is hard. If you're doing it right, it is hard. It is uncomfortable. You have to balance, who you are. You're balancing your team. You're balancing the business. You're balancing your clients. And it's a continuation of just like a balancing game. All that to be said, if you're just chasing a title and money, you will get burnout. You will not feel fulfilled, right? Yeah. So I love that you identify that. So one of the questions I love to ask as kind of that kickoff to, who you are. What was your first job? First job. What was your first job? And what was the big lesson learned that you remember from that? Do you recall yours?
Yes, I do. My very first job, I worked at a French bakery. And at the time, I consider myself conversational in French. I, took French in middle school and high school. I used to be a French tutor, but I will say it is very rusty. So if you happen to speak French, don't even try, because it's very rusty. It'll come back. But I remember when I was in my first job working in the bakery, I was nervous, right? Like they would actually do field trips and bring in classes of French students that would come in. But at the end of the day, you just keep trying. People are more forgiving than you realize. And that is also a big lesson, is it's okay to make mistakes. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but in certain settings, it's okay to make mistakes. People are more forgiving. We're all humans. And it was actually really fun. I ended up learning a lot more than I would have if I just held back and greeted them in English, because it was in Pennsylvania. But having just gone with the French that I had known at that time, I ended up learning a lot more.
I love that. So willing to take risk for the sake of growth. Let's see if this continues to, I love that. I have to share my first job, of course, after babysitting and all the things that you can do at a early age. I worked at the YMCA as the birthday party girl, and I had 2 birthdays on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, every weekend. I did it for 3 years. And my biggest lesson was, number one, parenting must be super stressful, because every parent that ever walked in looked stressed. And then I became a parent and realized birthday parties are very stressful. And there's a reason why you want them out of your house. I totally get that now. What was interesting is that I would always ask the parents, usually the mom was the one that would respond, but do you want me to pack this cake up so that you can take it home? Because at that time it was, you get the package that also included a cake that was baked, somebody local who would bring it in. So do you want to take this cake home? Let me get it ready for you. And most of the time they're like, no, I don't want that cake back in my house. I already have enough cake from the 2 other times that we sang happy birthday. So then it was, I remember again, twice on Saturday, once on a Sunday, I had an opportunity to share the cake with all the different workers of YMCA. And what I remember the most is caring about the fairness to make sure that everybody had a chance, not just the people sitting at the front office that were the closest to me, not just my friends that were there. I wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to get a piece of cake, which is crazy now that I think about it, right? It's cake, just put it out, literally grab it if you want it. But no, at 16, I wanted to make sure every person got a piece of the cake, which just cracks me up still to this day. But I love asking that question. Thank you for sharing. Again, absolutely beautiful story to share.
Change before and after kids.
Yes. I was like, now I understand why the parents are stressed. This birthday party. Yeah, for sure. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing about your journey and sharing more about just in regards to your path into leadership. I love some of what you've already threaded through there. Really know your why. Why do you want to be a leader? It is going to be, hard work, but done again, if done well, it's a course worthy. It makes an impact. So thank you for sharing that, and love hearing about, again, grit, determination, feel uncomfortable. That's where the best growth comes from. So thank you, Corina, for sharing that today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. All right. Well, for those of you watching us today, I just thank you for coming, hearing another amazing story. I hope this inspired you to do something a little bit different, to continue to grow on your path as well to leadership. And we will see you soon.